Long time no see, how are you guys doing? I'm doing great, and after weeks I really miss our lovely audience, and I'm longing to show you what words I've chosen for today's episode. Now, every time thầy Tùng hosts the show, I learn a whole multitude of new words. Right at the beginning of the show, he used the idiom straight from the horse's mouth. Now, if you hear something straight from the horse's mouth, you hear it from the person who is directly involved in it. Let me give you an example. I know it's true because I got it straight from the horse's mouth. He told me himself. The second idiom is to hold somebody or something dear, that is, to care very much for somebody or something. Even though I'm a social butterfly, there are only a few people I truly hold dear. Thirdly, to pave the way for somebody or something. It means making it possible or easier for somebody to do something or for something to happen. For instance, we can say, the new regulation of the government would pave the way for changes in women's rights. The last idiom that I picked is weather the storm. If somebody or something weathers the storm, they successfully deal with a very difficult problem. Fortunately, the company has managed to weather the storm. That's for the idioms. Now, let's take a look at some of the words that should definitely be highlighted in this episode. First of all, ingrained. This adjective is used to describe a habit, a belief, or an attitude that have existed for a long time and are therefore difficult to change. The belief that women should do the household chores is deeply ingrained in our society. The second word is turning point. A turning point refers to the time when an important change takes place, usually with the result that a situation improves. The promotion marked the turning point in my career. The very last word we have today is safety net, which is an arrangement that helps to prevent disaster if something goes wrong. Unemployment insurance is a safety net for those who lose their jobs. I reckon these aforementioned words and idioms are going to earn you some points in the IELTS exam. Please don't leave the screen because I'll be addressing some very commonly asked questions in the Q&A section. Welcome back everyone! You're watching the Q&A section in which me and anh are accompanying you on your learning journey. So the first question is, how long does an ideal answer for IELTS Speaking Part 3 last? So there's no word limit for an IELTS Speaking Part 3 answer, but it should not be too short and not too long. It is often recommended that you should answer with 3 or 4 sentences. The second question, could I possibly get a high band score in the IELTS speaking test if I have fluency but limited vocabulary? So basically, there are 4 criteria for examiners to assess your performance in the IELTS speaking test. They are fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. So if you're good at fluency, you'll get a high band score in that criterion. But in order to get an overall high band score, I think you should try to improve not only your vocabulary, but also grammar and pronunciation. The next question, could you help me to distinguish between study and learn? Of course, so to study is to read, memorize facts or attend school. Meanwhile, to learn is to gain knowledge or skills by studying, practicing, being taught or experiencing something. So when you study something, you have not learned it yet. You just read books, articles, probably listen to a teacher at school and things like that. But when you learn something, you make it part of the things you know. Like once you've learned it, you are very skillful or knowledgeable about the subject. The fourth question that I received is, should we use noun phrases or detailed sentences in IELTS writing? The answer is yes, because it proves that you do know a lot about grammar. But you should make sure that your sentences are grammatically correct and they do not make your essays unnatural and difficult to comprehend. The last question of the day, can you please give me some synonyms of the word chiếm bao nhiêu % for my IELTS rating test 1? Definitely, I'll give you 5 of it. So, account for, make up, take up, comprise, and constitute, plus the percentage. Alright, this question brought us to the very end of today's vocab highlight. Thank you for watching until the end, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again with new phrases and new answers to your questions. I'm Trang Nhung, and goodbye for now.
Now let's enjoy the moment by watching the highlights of IFO Nightly Show episode 16 with an inspirational from a brave woman who has tried her best to reach her academic dream.
What created you? What created Hương Đặng from a girl of humble beginnings in the countryside of Vietnam to a very distinguished, very accomplished woman you are today?
That is a very nice introduction. Thank you so much.
That's my job.
So I think look back to my journey. There are many elements that's created myself, the women's today. First of all, is from the experience, whether it was bad or good. It's all from the experience that I gather along the way. And another aspect of that was education and you know the opportunities that I have been given throughout the journey. And last but not least, the love of a mother, my mom, who you know has nothing but loved me unconditionally, and the family orientation that she has given me. So you know that's formed and shaped the woman that I am today.
Okay, so it's a confluence of a lot of different factors and people.
Yeah.
So obviously, your dreams are a big factor that fuel your success. So could you maybe chronicle for us your dreams were, what they were in the beginning and how they have changed over the years?
Yes, I think that is a very important aspect of everyone's life. Even when you have nothing, but if you have a dream that guide you throughout the ups and downs. So for me, as a little girl, very small, very little, when I was 6 years old, my dream was to become a teacher. And luckily, every summer I lived with my grandparents, and my uncle from my mother's side was a teacher. And you know, living in the small countryside, I didn't really have that privilege to, you know, to read books or to have books or access to education or you know a lot of resources. But one thing that I loved was reading books and reading magazines.
Yeah, so do I.
My uncle was teaching at a primary school, and he usually gives me a lot of books and magazines, and I started reading at very young age. So for me at that time, I was always thinking that, you know, if I become a teacher, then I get free magazine and you know access to reading a lot of books, and I always have that dreams. But then because of the financial circumstances from my family, my mother could not afford to, you know, to pay for me to go to school. So I left school, but and I went to Hanoi to work as a babysitter. But then, you know, throughout those years, I always still, you know, dream to that one day I can come back to school. So I always believed that education would change my life.
And it did.
It did. It really did, and it made a huge impact in my life. So. You know, later on, I realized that, you know, along the way you go, you always have different dreams at different stage of your life. You see something that is not suitable at that time, but maybe in the future is more relevant. So when I was living on the street of Hanoi and, you know, doing a lot of jobs that I can survive, I still have that hope that I can change my life through education. So I still love that dream to become a teacher, but it's, you know, it's always seemed to be so far away because we couldn't afford it. So one day I met Koto. I became a Koto trainee, and you know, at that time my dream was to become a bartender because I study hospitality and English and life skill at Koto, and I always wanted to become a bartender. For some reason, a lot of people has that mentality to tell me that, you know, you're a girl, you cannot work in the bar, and you can't be a bartender because you're so small.
They don't know what they're talking about.
And yeah, so I kind of doubt myself a bit. But during the time I studied at Koto, that opportunity changed my life, and it's opened a whole new world of possibilities and bigger dreams. So I still wanted to go to top university in Vietnam. I look back and I felt that it was a bit crazy. I didn't really have all the requirements to go to that school, but I always dreamed to go to that school. So I talked to Jimmy Pham, the founder of Koto, and I said to him that, I want to go to universities. And he said to me one thing that, you focus on studying at the moment, and then I will help you. And he did. So, but after I graduated from Koto, I did learn a lot of English, and I always think that English will be the key to help me explore the world. So I registered for some English class, and later
outside of Koto?
Outside of Koto.
Okay.
And then I said so before coming to Koto, I didn't know any language.
Wow.
And then one day I sat with Jimmy and I said to him, like, I want to go to Dubai. And he was asking me, like,
what's your fascination with Dubai?
Yes.
Yeah.
So because at that time, some of the Koto alumni graduated from the program, and Dubai is the world of hospitality, 5-star hotel and resort. So I would always imagine, like, I can earn a lot of money, and I can come back, and then I can go to universities, and I also could help my families a bit as well.
Okay.
So Jimmy said to me, like, not Dubai, definitely not Dubai. You have to go to Australia.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, it was like, wow, Australia, I don't think I will be able to go there. Just always down myself at that time. But then I just go back and I registered for another English class for IELTS. And I got a scholarship. The dream to go to Australia is becoming very true. So then I was registering for a lot of, education fair and learning about education in Australia.
And the opportunities just started to open up.
Yes.
And